York. I want to give a huge warm welcome to everyone that's tuned in today. Got another action-packed, info-filled show lying ahead of us. And today it's not just me here. I have got Jimmy Jeans. I drafted Jimmy Jeans in right at the last minute there. And, you know, I was actually going to rebro today. I was going to put on a rebroadcast because I've done all the streams at the weekend. And Jimmy, you need to try and keep quiet somehow, Jimmy. Jimmy, please try keep quiet. Jimmy's on his phone today, so we need to try and keep Jimmy quiet in the background while he's not talking. That's going to be a mission unto itself. But Jimmy, you were telling me you were on the Golden Gate Bridge today, right? Jimmy Jeans, are you there?
Yeah, I tried to mute up so you wouldn't hear any background noise. Yeah, I was. I went today. I was over in Marin County, just over by San Quentin Prison. And I was just driving by there. I was thinking about Manson, you know, because he spent so much time there. But yeah, no, I grabbed some video of me coming back over the Golden Gate Bridge for you, Kev, because I wanted you to see. I mean, literally, the weather here in the Bay Area is literally off.
Well, it sounds like
it's been raining. It seems like for almost a month.
Well, Jimmy, you're gonna have to get closer to your router or something because you're starting to drop out.
Yeah.
Before the show, it was okay, but now it's starting to drop out a little bit. But yeah, I was going to take a day off today because I'd obviously done a lot of stuff at the weekend and I was just feeling a bit tired. And then Jimmy comes along and he says, it's okay, Kev. We'll throw a show together. We can do that. And then 10 minutes before we're due to go on air, we find out that Jimmy's Skype just isn't playing ball. But that doesn't matter, folks, because we've got lots to get into today. And I believe last night, I'm pretty sure it was last night, my interview for The Secret Teachings, where I was with Clyde Lewis. That would have gone out on Fringe FM, so I hope you all managed to catch that. And then tomorrow, right here on the show, I have got Bill Bean is going to be joining me. Now, not only that, Bill is going to be bringing somebody from Ireland onto the show as well. And just recently, Bill was on the absolutely massive Coast to Coast, right? Arguably one of the biggest radio shows in this genre in the world. And he gave the Kev Baker Show a special shout out. So yeah, that's a really high praise for KBS and TFR. Certainly reaching the masses now. And Bill will be here with me tomorrow. Definitely one of my favourite shows of the month. And Bill Bean, Jimmy, he's always got something interesting up his sleeve. And he's very like us. He keeps on top of all of the kind of current affairs, the topical news stories that are going on. And it just shows you how everything has this spiritual aspect to it, Jimmy.
It does. I mean, Bill, you know, being around to hear Bill on the show is always great, even when I'm just listening. And I'm not, you know, I mean, he brings such a good energy to the show, too. I can literally, after being on with him, I mean, I literally feel, you know, energized sometimes. So he's a powerful guy and he's a great, great human being. And he does a lot of really great work for people. So I'm stoked, man. Yeah,
he's helped a lot of people that actually listen to the show as well, Jimmy. You know, people on Facebook who have been going through similar things, sometimes more intense things than I was after we went to Boleskine House and all the ooga boogas I picked up there. And I know for a fact that Bill's personally touched the lives of many, and that's people that I actually know. So I always say he's the real deal. And when you're into the kind of topics we're into, and you get the chance to speak to anyone that does exorcisms, that's pretty cool. But when you come across one that's so genuine, so bona fide as well, and just a down-to-earth good guy, it's absolutely brilliant, Jimmy. It really is. I think all of us, myself here on the show and the audience, we all benefit from Bill coming on once a month and sharing his stories.
We do, you know, and I always appreciate the, you know, the blessings at the end and the prayer. You know, I mean, I really do feel, you know, energized after hearing that, no matter if I'm on the show or if I'm just listening. So he's a great, great, great person. And I really appreciate him as a man. He's a good guy.
Definitely. Talking to good guys, been on air. I believe you're going to be back on air sometime very soon, Jimmy. Tell the world what's happening, man.
Yeah, that's right. Into the Microcosm is going to make its return to its home base of Truth Frequency Radio on Thursday nights at 8 Pacific for 3 hours. So it'll be 3 hours of a rompous ride through whatever we get into, because we do get into a lot of different subject matter. We're not, we're not really pinned down anywhere. We're kind of like you, Kev. We go where the flow is, in other words.
It's kind of hard for me to really describe what my show really is, Jimmy, because how do you put a label on something that goes here, there, and absolutely everywhere, dude? You know?
Well, I think you said it best about a year ago. You coined a term called the art of information. And I think that, my show and your show are both in that category. We try to present information in an artful and entertaining way. And we got to get through serious subject matter. It's always good to throw a laugh in here and there. So, we've always, you and I, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I've always seemed like I've had a connection to you. It's just the very first time we've been on the air together. And I really enjoyed being here with you. And I'm really stoked that Chris and Cherie brought us back, and Lucky and Billy Ray and everybody that, sent emails in about the show. I really appreciate it. And you won't be disappointed. We got a lot of really cool things planned coming up. So looking forward to it, man. Thanks a lot for asking, Kev. I appreciate it.
No, it'd be good to get you back, Jimmy. It really will. And right here on TFR, I think we've got the best selection of shows. Cover so many of the topics that people are looking into right now that I really do think it's almost like a one-stop shop. You could come here if you had your subscription, and this isn't me trying to sell TFR subscriptions, folks, because you can come here and listen live for free every single day, 24/7, 365 days a year. But if you're able to go back and pick and choose in the archives and things, Jimmy, probably it'd be safe to say not every show is going to appeal to everyone, but there's going to be 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 that you really, really get into. And that's what I like about being able to come to somewhere like TFR. It saves you going to this website, the next website, and remembering where you got this show, that show. It's all in one place, dude. All the best shows. You can't argue with that.
It is. And it really, it really is the alternative to the alternative, because you don't see the same usual parade of guests that you see on all these other shows. They just basically go on there and filibuster, whatever their, thing is for an hour. And then nobody asks us a question, and I mean, that's what makes TFR so great. Not only do we get guests here that, you really can't find a lot of other places. And secondly, the kind of talk that we have with those guests is different than you're going to find any place else. And that's a fact.
That is a fact. Definitely a fact there, Jimmy. I can't disagree with you there, man.
So, the organic conversations that seem to develop around this network and the shows that are here, whatever subject matter you may particularly be into. Maybe you're into this, you're into that, whatever you're into. If you're into politics, there's a show here for you. If you're into the paranormal portal. There isn't a show. What about the flagship show, Chris and Cherie's Beyond the Veil? There's so many good topics here for everybody, and we're really stoked to have you here, and we appreciate every single one of you. And, big things are coming down, and we are going to be a part of it right here.
No, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And last night I had Ben Emlyn-Jones on the show. We were talking about David Icke, the fact he's been banned from speaking in Australia. They take his visa off him. We've seen Alex Jones deplatformed in recent times as well, Tommy Robinson. And there's so many other people as well. You've had Michael Savage banned from talking in the UK in recent years gone by as well. More recently, alt-right speakers, this new alt-right that you keep hearing about all the time, some of their speakers were banned from coming to the UK. So this is the world we're moving into, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, these venues where we can find the information that we're looking for. And it used to be that Facebook, that really did serve a purpose for me at one point. I was able to find really interesting stories back years ago, back before the algorithms really took over. When I think Facebook was a good place, it's not always been the kind of thing that I criticize and knock like it is nowadays. Because way back when I first started using that, I really did use it for the purposes you thought, or we all thought it was intended for. You know, connecting with family that might not live locally, getting back in touch with people from school, stuff like that. And as my activism and my research and my sharing of links continued, started to build up a kind of, well, you say a friend list, a contact list, people filling up your news feed that had similar interests to me, certainly open-minded. And from there, you're able to, you know, get the odd golden nugget. It would lead you down a road of research that might come to some truth, that might not. However, it was always good for finding something to get the conversation going. And then over time, we seen how Facebook was always designed to be a tool to not only surveil us, but eventually control even the mood that we're in. And that might sound really kind of silly to anyone who hasn't heard me speaking before, but that's literally what Facebook can do. They can alter whether you're in a good mood or a bad mood just by skewing the information that you are subjected to, that you are exposed to on your newsfeed on their website. And Facebook, of course, has come in for heavy criticism more and more over the years because of privacy issues, because of this, because of that, because of the fact that everyone started to realize what they've been doing all along is using our data and selling it on to third parties and making an absolute fortune on the back of our data, our content that we share on that website. Mark Zuckerberg, love him or hate him, not a big fan of the guy myself. I think he's the closest thing we've got to a human, walking, talking NPC meme that you see on the internet. Talk about the Slender Man coming to life. That's almost like the NPC guy has come to life. Well, he's back in the news again today, and that's where I really want to kick things off tonight, folks, because he's put together a really kind of detailed blog post, and it's all to do with the privacy on his website. And anyone that uses Facebook, this is obviously set to impact you. So I would suggest probably the majority of people listening to the show tonight who have a Facebook account, this is what Mark Zuckerberg, Jimmy. This is what Mark Zuckerberg is saying about his website. It says, and I'll bring it up here just so I can see it. There we go. A privacy-focused vision for social media. Well, already I've got a problem with this, Mark, because privacy-focused, the fact that your whole business model involves taking our information that we post to your website and then selling them to third parties that we know nothing about, it kind of makes me think maybe privacy isn't your first interest. But come on, let's give the guy a chance, right? Let's at least see what this CIA-controlled bot has to say. It says, my focus for the last couple of years has been understanding and addressing the biggest challenges facing Facebook. This means taking positions on important issues concerning the future of the internet. In this note, I'll outline our vision and principles around building a privacy-focused messaging and social networking platform. There's a lot to do here, and we're committed to working openly and consulting with experts across society as we develop this. Over the last 15 years, Facebook and Instagram have helped people connect with friends, communities, and interests in the digital equivalent of a town square. But people increasingly also want to connect privately in the digital equivalent of the living room. As I think about the future of the internet, I believe a privacy-focused communications platform will become even more important than today's open platforms. Privacy gives people the freedom to be themselves and connect more naturally, which is why we build social networks. Today, we already see that private messaging, ephemeral stories, and small groups are by far the fastest growing areas of online communication. There are a number of reasons for this. Many people prefer the intimacy of communicating one-on-one or with just a few friends. People are more cautious of having a permanent record of what they've shared. And we all expect to be able to do things like payments privately and securely. Public social networks will continue to be very important in people's lives, for connecting with everyone you know, discovering new people, ideas and content, and giving people a voice more broadly. People find these valuable every day, and there is still a lot of useful services to build on top of them. But now, with all the ways people also want to interact privately, there's also an opportunity to build a simpler platform that's focused on privacy first. Now, let me just pause there for a moment, get a little drink of coffee. But you see, what we're hearing here is, what I'm reading into this so far is that people are not being themselves, shall we say, when they're on sites like Facebook. More and more people are probably actively taking decisions and taking actions to not display their typically normal behavior. More and more people are acutely aware of the fact that we're being watched, every keystroke, every word that we say. And maybe people are starting to, dare I say it, self-censor or almost try to work around the algorithm. Think of the way that when myself and Jimmy will use acronyms instead of using some of the keywords that we know will get us flagged by YouTube, things like that. Maybe when we're in these big groups online, we're not just giving enough of ourselves away for the AI to know enough about us. So if you start to concentrate on giving people this place where they can be more intimate, where they can be more like themselves with no issues, you know, you don't have to worry about your future employer seeing that post that you left there one night when you had one too many to drink. No. This is somewhere where you can be yourself. You don't have to worry about these privacy issues that you've been concerned about because they want you to be yourself. Because the more like yourself in the real world you are online, the more accurately the AI can model who you are and more accurately know more about you. So it says here, and again, I could be wrong there, folks. Like you could turn around and say, Kev, you're absolutely backcrap crazy. I'm open to that. That's what I'm reading so far. Could be wrong. I understand that many people don't think Facebook can or would even want to build this kind of privacy-focused platform because, frankly, we don't currently have a strong reputation for building privacy-protective services. And we've historically focused on tools for more open sharing, but we've repeatedly shown that we can evolve to build the services that people really want, including in private messaging and stories. Jimmy, what do you make of this so far, man?
Well, I think your assessment is pretty dead on as usual. We're on the same page on this, but I mean, this whole thing has been a social experiment from day one. I mean, Scotty brought out the what it was before, and they didn't think that anybody in their right minds would even sign on to it. So
LifeLog, Jimmy, yeah, LifeLog. It was something the Pentagon were running, and on the very same day that they said, nah, people wouldn't buy into this, coincidentally, out of the blue, Mark Zuckerberg starts Facebook. Nothing to worry about there, Jimmy.
No, and the thing is, I've always said from day one that I think Mark Zuckerberg is more or less a character. He's the front man. I don't think he invented anything, and he just happened to, for whatever reason, he got the role, and he just runs around, and he's the guy everybody loves to hate. He's the guy. But overall, I mean, the social experiment, we've so everybody pretty much bought into it. I mean, but I know that I sensed immediately when we started talking about this about a year ago, when we started talking about the actual physiological and psychological effects that this had on you. I saw a big shift on Facebook, and there was a whole bunch of people that just weren't there anymore. There's a whole bunch of people that weren't really interacting, not sharing stuff. A lot of people have really, I think they left the plantation when they started doing all this censoring stuff that they've been doing, Kev.
Yeah, probably.
So
they could do it, and we'll get back into this because I was just needing to take a little drink of coffee there. I've got a tickle in my throat. This always happens when I go to read a big article, Jimmy. It's a nightmare. But anyway, getting back into it. It says, I believe. This, of course, is Mark Zuckerberg. What do you believe, Mark? Well, he believes the future communication will increasingly shift to private, encrypted services where people can be confident what they say to each other stays secure and their messages and content won't stick around forever. This is the future I hope we will bring about. We plan to build this the way we've developed WhatsApp. Focus on the most fundamental and private use case, messaging. Make it as secure as possible, and then build more ways for people to interact on top of that, including calls, video chats, groups, stories, businesses, payments, commerce, and ultimately a platform for many other kinds of private services. This privacy-focused platform will be built around several principles. Number one, private interactions. People should have simple, intimate places where they have clear control over who can communicate with them and confidence that no one else can access what they share. Number two, encryption. People's private communications should be secure. End-to-end encryption prevents anyone, including us, from seeing what people share on our services. Jimmy Jeans, let me bring you back in here. Absolute poppycock balderdash if he honestly thinks that people are going to believe that, they don't see what we are talking about on their WhatsApp or this new message service that they're putting together. No. It's absolutely safe and secure, Jimmy. Nobody's going to get to look at that. Right, Jimmy?
It's not secure at all, right?
Exactly. Well, there's no way that they're going to have a messaging service that they're not looking at on the other end. They can tell you that, but how long would it be before we find out law enforcement are able to get their hands on a transcript of a conversation you had or a recording of an actual text or an actual, chat that you've had via the calling service that they're going to offer? There's absolutely no way that Facebook are not going to be monitoring at some point, Jimmy, even if it's just an algorithm, what's coming in on their end.
Well, the other thing is, too, is so if I offer you some sort of encrypted VPN connection for your messaging, but I'm giving it to you for free, what's paying for you to have that service? There's got to be something going on there that they're gonna get revenue stream from. It's not, he's not just doing it out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, he is, man. He loves us. Zuckerberg just loves us. He goes to bed at night worrying about, how can I make people's lives just that little bit better tomorrow? I know what I'll do. I'll encrypt everything and we'll stop being sneaky beakies and we'll destroy billions of our company price when we stop sharing all your data because he loves us. See how ridiculous that sounds? That's just beyond ridiculous. So let's get a couple more of these in before the break. Reducing permanence. People should be comfortable being themselves. See, this is what it's all about. And should not have to worry about what they share coming back to hurt them later. So we won't keep your messages or stories around for longer than necessary to deliver the service or longer than people want them. Safety. People should expect that we will do everything to keep them safe on our services within the limits of what's possible in an encrypted service. Well, how could you possibly keep anyone safe or give any pretense of trying to keep people safe when you don't look at the conversations, right? There's no way you can look at them. So if some creepy dude's trying to stalk somebody's child with one of these crazy challenge games or some internet predator is trying to stalk your child, you won't know Facebook because you give us total privacy, right? So if you give us total privacy, how on earth's name can you protect us? I'm much confused. Riddle me this, Mr. Zuckerberg. But it doesn't stop there because it goes on to interoperability. People should be able to use any of our apps to reach their friends, and they should be able to communicate across networks easily and securely. And it says here that secure data storage. People should expect that we won't store sensitive data in countries with a weak record on human rights like privacy and freedom of expression in order to protect data from being improperly accessed. Over the next few years, we plan to rebuild more of our services around these ideas. The decisions we'll face along the way will mean taking positions on important issues concerning the future of the internet. We understand there are a lot of trade-offs to get right, and we're committed to consulting with experts and discussing the best way forward. This will take some time, but we're not going to develop this major change in our direction behind closed doors. We're going to do this as openly and collaboratively as we can, because many of these issues affect different parties of society. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Zuckerberg brings you this broadcast, and he absolutely loves you. Do you feel all warm and cutesy and cozy, knowing that Mark's losing sleep at night, how to make this messenger service so private, so secure? Not that they would ever dare to kind of break our trust or do anything to go against our privacy, right? Facebook have got a perfect record, don't they? Absolutely perfect. So we will be back after these short messages.
This is the Kev Baker Show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Kev Baker, and this is today's Kev Baker Show, right here on TFRlive.com. Now, don't forget, you can find my really cool YouTube channel of the same name, The Kev Baker Show, funnily enough, over on YouTube. And we're making a really big push this year. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. And we're still going really nicely along. We're going steadily, heading along towards, I believe, 93,000 at the moment. So we're getting very close. And it doesn't cost you a penny, folks. Just tell your friends, tell your relatives. Go and click subscribe. It'll give you the latest videos that I put up on there. And of course, you get all the kind of crazy streaming antics that we get up to at the weekend. I've given Popeye the bug back. He's got a new camera. So, weekends we definitely get Popeye's wisdom. That's one word to put it. Popeye on at the weekend. So yeah, please help support us via the YouTube. And like I say, it doesn't cost you a penny, not 1 penny. If you're on YouTube anyway, just hit that subscribe button. And I've got Jimmy Jeans here with me today. We're not talking about YouTube tonight, Jimmy. We're talking about Facebook. And we're all big fans of Mark Zuckerberg on here, aren't we, Jimmy? We love Mark.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think is funny? Is there's some guy sitting over in Facebook in some dimly lit cubicle. He's sitting there in his socks, and he just walks over to the snack bar, gets a slice of pizza whenever he wants, and he's just sitting over there, and he's monitoring everything that everybody posts, and he decides, Kev, what is hate speech and what isn't.
You see, I think if anyone thinks that in this day and age of algorithms, they're absolutely off their head.
Yeah, well, he was on the news talking about it. He was on actually speaking about how he has to decide, and there's such a fine line, Kev, between speech. There's such a definitive marker between sarcasm and hate speech. So he sits there in his, like I said, lonely cubicle.
See, here's the thing, right? I think he's enough of a psychopath and a sociopath and just an absolute buffoon that in some cases, especially when it comes to like the political madness that goes on there, the left and the right stuff, the alt-right and all this kind of thing, Jimmy, I actually, it wouldn't surprise me if that boring git probably did sit in there some nights. But that's not to say, the majority of the shadow banning is probably done by an algorithm modelled on his personality. Dry, humourless, and clinical.
Yeah, well, somebody's, this whole de-boosting scandal came out on Veritas like last week, where they're talking about how they just click you off and nobody sees you. And you just don't realize it. I mean, so many people have been complaining about that over the last year.
I've never been in Facebook jail, dude. I must be doing something wrong. This really pisses me off. I've never had that Facebook jail time. I actually feel uncool. You know, there's certain things that give you digital cred. Used to be street cred in the real world, but now we're in this digital cyberspace, Jimmy. You get digi cred, okay? And I've got no digi cred, dude. Never been to Facebook jail. I suppose demonetized on YouTube the same week that Jonesy got kind of attacked. I could maybe spin that for some digi cred, but no, man. How on earth's name have I avoided Facebook jail?
I don't know, but see, you know, originally when I got on, I was never going to have a Facebook, but originally I got on there, you know, to just contact people that I knew, you know, as far as the radio thing was going. And I've never posted news or items on my Facebook. The only thing I ever post is a particular song that I might be listening to that day.
Oh, your music's bad, man. Your music's bad, Jimbo.
Well, the thing is you gotta, it's, you know, it's always different. So, you know, you can't blanket, you can't throw the wet blanket of your particular genre favorite over my musical taste. But anyways, you know, I know you like a different style of music. You know, sometimes it's blues for me, sometimes it's rock. But anyway, the point is, I never posted news on my Facebook. I've never gotten in Facebook jail. I sometimes wonder if my posts go out. I know Christopher Everard posts stuff, and I never see it. The only way I will ever see anything he posts is if I go over to his page, because he sits there, he posts every day. He posts like 10 things a day, and I never see anything. You know, so I mean, you know, it's just like we were saying earlier, you know, one person is sitting over the whole top of everything and gets to decide individually what we get access to and what we don't. You know, we can both search the same thing, and I'm going to come up with different results than you are based on the searches that I've done in the past. And same with you. You know, not to say anything's different, but you may find something totally different than I do. Or you know how when you and I are working on something, you know, like say we're looking into something.
Jimmy, we never look into anything, dude. Don't give the audience some kind of idea that we spend hours researching topics,
well,
man.
Psychotronics is a good example. We got onto Psychotronics. We started looking into it. You guys looked into it. I looked into it. And we all found different stuff. I mean, we didn't all find the same thing. And so, you know, it's all in how you see. The thing is, it's all out there, and somebody put it there. Nobody did it for free. I mean, in the beginning, people were going, "Hey, let me photocopy this book and throw it up on the internet." Well, Google's actually literally photocopying books and burning them right here in the Silicon Valley when they're done photocopying them. So, you know, I mean, this thing is out of control at this point, and there's really no Zuckerberg fix that's going to make it fly.
It's what I said last night on the show. You know, it's not that the internet is changing, that it's morphing into something new. This is what it was always designed to be. And it's data, data, data. And somebody like Mark Zuckerberg, he's one of the biggest players in this, because Facebook, Google, they hold the majority of the data that's produced on the internet, online, every minute of every day of every week, of every month, of every year. And data is the key. And when it comes to these social credit scoring systems, like I honestly do believe are going to be global, that's not just something from China. Data is key to all of that as well. And in the month that we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of the testing of the internet at CERN, with the money from DARPA as well, you know, here we are, 30 years in, and we're starting to see the system of control that it was always designed to be. You know, I'm sure they would have looked at it back in the day when they were planning this, and when they were the kind of the carrot and the stick, the incentive to get us kind of hooked into this system, because they needed us hooked on this. They needed us in a place where we were willing to give up our data 24/7, where that became normal. For if they're going to use data to control us, they need that constant data. So they give you the internet and all the bells and whistles and all the good things that came with it. The Wild West days of the internet, as it's sometimes referred to. You know, Napster comes along. Was it LimeWire? That one we used to get the music off of. And think how it's changing now to really the system of control that we always feared it could become. They must have known there'd be a time that we would use it to wake up, but they must have also known that then they would have to drop the hammer. And I think we're seeing the hammer dropping now more and more and more. You can call it censorship, you can call it shadow banning, you put whatever name you want on it. But that's exactly where we are. The internet was always a military tool. Everything comes from the military into the commercial, into the public kind of world. And now we're seeing exactly what the internet was always going to be. The system of control, and a humanless system as well, in many, many respects, with more and more of the kind of decision-making, the programs been totally controlled by algorithm. Yeah, humans do, in many cases, still write the algorithms, but what about that one that we covered many months ago called AutoML? An algorithm that literally rewrites and writes new code, writing its own algorithms in code that we don't recognize. So that's the world that we're moving into, folks, and we're going to go back to this little article, this little post by Mark Zuckerberg. We're moving into a portion of it now called Private Interactions as a Foundation. There's nothing private about any of your life online. We need to drop that idea right now. And anyone around you that has some kind of idea that there's any kind of privacy online anymore, slap them about the face with a fish. Honestly, take a good cold hard fish and whoosh, slap them right about the jowl with it. Because there is no privacy. Absolutely none. It defeats the purpose of the data gathering that the internet is all about. Data, data, data. So then, it says here, for a service to feel private. See, it only needs to feel private. It doesn't need to be private. It just needs to feel it, okay? Just so long as we can give you that air of privacy so that you'll be yourself, so that we can more realistically model you from that real-time data that you're giving out from yourself. Just to feel private. Clever one, Mark. There must never be any doubt about who you are communicating with. We've worked hard to build privacy into all our products, including those for public sharing. But one great property of messaging services is that even as your contact list grows, your individual threads and groups remain private. As your friends evolve over time, messaging services evolve gracefully and remain intimate. This is different from broader social networks, where people can accumulate friends or followers until the services feel more public. This is well suited to many important uses, telling all your friends about something, using your voice on important topics, finding communities of people with similar interests, following creators and media, buying and selling things, organizing fundraisers, growing businesses, or many other things that benefit from having someone you know in one place. Still, when you see all these experiences together, it feels more like a town square than that more intimate space like a living room. There's an opportunity to build a platform that focuses on all of the ways people want to interact privately. The sense of privacy and intimacy is not just about technical features. It is designed deeply into the feel of the services overall. In WhatsApp, for example, our team is obsessed with creating an intimate environment in every aspect of the product. Well, I suggest the people working on WhatsApp really need to get a life if they're obsessed with creating an intimate environment in every aspect of the product. That's the kind of people you don't want to be stuck next to on a bus, folks. It really is. So it goes on to say here, when the team built groups, they put on a size limit to make sure every interaction feels private. When we shipped stories onto WhatsApp, we limited public content because we worried it might erode the feeling of privacy to see lots of public content, even if it didn't actually change who you're sharing it with. Now, in a few years, I, Mark Zuckerberg, God of the internet, sorry, that was just me throwing that in there, I expect future versions of Messenger and WhatsApp to become the main ways people communicate on the Facebook network. we're focused on making both of these apps faster, simpler, more private, and more secure, including with end-to-end encryption. We then plan to add more ways to interact privately with your friends, groups, and businesses. If this evolution is successful, interacting with your friends and family across Facebook network will become a fundamentally more private experience. So then, Jimmy, he's going to make it an entirely more private experience. You feeling a lot safer already? Are a lot of your fears about Facebook, are they all melting away like an iceberg at the South Pole, dude?
Yeah, I feel like I'm eating a bologna sandwich at the common area inside the electronic prison. I mean, man, is he kidding? Seriously, it's beyond out of control. I mean, you take a look at the concept of the Panopticon. You know, I have a quick Wikipedia. You familiar with the Panopticon, right?
I am, yes, but on you go. Go for it.
I wanted you to do it because you are the man, and no one could describe this, I don't think, better than you.
Okay, it says here then, the design consists of a circular structure with an inspection house at the centre, from which the manager or staff of the institution is able to watch the inmates. The inmates who are stationed around the perimeter of the structure are unable to see into the inspection house. Now, Bentham conceived the basic plan as being equally applicable to hospitals, schools, sanatoriums, and asylums, but he devoted most of his efforts to developing a design for a Panopticon prison. It is his prison that is now most widely meant by the term Panopticon. Bentham described the Panopticon as, quote, a new mode of obtaining power over mind power of mind over mind in a quantity hitherto without example. Elsewhere, in a letter, he described the Panopticon prison as a mill for grinding rogues honest. And for people out there, you just need to Google it. You've probably seen it before, but the kind of common image that comes up is like a kind of circular kind of building, room. And in the middle, it's like a big kind of tower. And that is where your kind of guard room is, where the authority sits. And like it describes there, the inmates who are around different layers, they're pretty oblivious to all of this because they can't see who's in there. But all the time, the ones in the Panopticon in the control room, they can watch everyone. And I think that is pretty much a good kind of metaphor for what we're talking about here with Facebook and with the internet in general. Because you forget that somewhere there's an algorithm, somewhere there's a set of eyes, be it digital eyes, be it human eyes, but they're all observing us 24/7. Every keystroke we make. Doesn't matter how private we feel in our little living rooms here, as Mark calls it, or our digital living rooms, as Mark is trying to pimp out right now. They're always watching. They're always listening. And it's the digital Panopticon. So yeah, that's definitely a good definition, Jimmy.
And that's the, and see, I want to point out that, you know, the psychological principle behind this is that you never know if there could be no guards in there watching anybody at all. But that's the thing, is you never know. And they always have you thinking in the back of your mind, somebody's listening to me. Somebody's watching me. I can't do what I want to do, and I can't say what I want to say because somebody's watching me. And, you know, when we talk about Jade Helm mastering the human domain, I mean, that was a serious project that went on here in the United States, and it's totally and completely tied into the social media psychological programming that goes on. You know, we've talked about the physical effects that the actual people liking what you say or liking a picture of your puppy or whatever it is, that makes us feel good, and we get a jolt. You know, we get the shot of dopamine, as it were. And so we're just running around, Kev, like
That's what I was saying. They had to turn us into, willing junkies on the internet, and that dopamine was one way of doing it, Jimmy. That's how they got us hooked into the old social media aspect of it.
Yeah, because most human beings on the planet, one of the main things that they're doing or that they're up to in the world is seeking approval. You want somebody to sign on to your business plan. You want somebody to, like you at the dance, whatever it is. We're all seeking approval. And so if we can scientifically manipulate you with your approval addiction and get you hooked on, basically, supplying your needs and your wants through whatever consumer, thing that they have set up. I mean, mostly everything here is we're all seeking this something, and we're constantly seeking it. I mean, how many pairs of jeans do I need? How many times do I need to go to the mall in a week?
Don't give me a pair of jeans. I don't need a pair of jeans. Putting up with one Jimmy jeans is enough.
You got a point.
Oh, definitely, dude. No, but I want to get a little bit more of this article done before we get to the break. And there's not going to be any breaks tonight, folks. No, we're going hardcore. We're unplugged here on KBS. We've decided let's just do away with breaks. We're getting into some really good stuff tonight. So we're going to fly, Jimmy, all the way till the end of the show. No breaks, just me and you and thousands upon thousands of people out there relying on us to deliver them this really well put together show. How's that feel, man?
That feels fantastic. And you know what? It makes me so happy and excited that I'm going to go get myself a fresh, hot cup of coffee, and I'm going to get ready to
You see, this is the joys of being a co-host, right? You can go make yourself a coffee. I'm going to try and hint loud enough to get a coffee made for me. Try. And at the same time, I might have to avoid a shoe coming my way. You remember George Bush when he was making that speech over in Iraq and he got shoes thrown at him? That's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm waiting for a shoe to hit me in the back of the head, Jimmy, because I would love a nice warm cup of coffee, Almost got hit by a shoe. Literally almost got hit by a shoe. Can you believe that, folks?
What I always loved about that George Bush thing is that the guy really threw the shoe at him, but Bush was quick, man. Did you see how he's like...
He was like a ninja, dude.
He was, man.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi taught him that. If it hadn't been for Mr. Miyagi, that shoe would have hit him. But anyway, let's get back into this. You go and grab yourself a coffee, Jimmy. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to dehydrate. I might start getting dizzy and things because I've not had a coffee in so long. Now I'm being offered like a thimble full of water. Can you believe that? When only a coffee will do. Terrible, folks. It's like being in Abu Ghraib. It really is. Anyway, back to it, because Mark Zuckerberg, he has been writing posts on his very own website. Imagine that. Go figure. And Mark so far has been telling us to rest assured we can be ourselves. We can get down, we can get dirty, and we can feel private and a level of privacy and intimacy when we're using his website, and in particular, when he pimps out Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram into one hybrid data collector, messaging service. I know I'm far too cynical when it comes to this guy, I know. But that's just the way I roll. So it says here, encryption and safety. Okay, Mark, enlighten us. People expect their private communications to be secure and to only be seen by the people that they've sent them to. I think that's a pretty basic expectation to have when you're using any messenger service, that the people that you're communicating with are the people that you're actually sending stuff to. Just saying. I'm not some coding genius like Mark Zuckerberg. Who am I to question these things? It says not hackers, criminals, or overreaching governments, or even the people operating the services that they're using. There's a growing awareness that the more entities that have access to your data, the more vulnerabilities there are for someone to misuse it or for a cyber attack to expose it. There is also a growing concern among some that technology may be centralizing power in the hands of governments and companies like ours. Oh, yes, indeed, Mr. Zuckerberg. Let's just read that again. There's also a growing concern among some that technology may be centralizing power in the hands of governments and companies like ours. And some people worry that our services could access their messages and use them for advertising or in other ways they don't expect. Well, let me stop right there because I know for a fact that their message services are used for advertising. There's absolutely no way that they're not listening to what you're saying via your microphone when you're not even on their messaging service, let alone when you're actually talking to somebody. And how many times, think about it yourselves, folks, if you use Messenger. Myself and Alistair, who sends me all of the links I mention from time to time, we have a laugh about this because I think we'd been talking about Star Trek at some point, and then within a couple of hours, what was Alistair's Facebook telling him all about? Star Trek. Now, if Facebook aren't looking, or they haven't got an algorithm looking at the words we're using, how on earth's name did it know that Alistair and I had been talking about Star Trek? Now, I get they've got quantum computers and a D-Wave, but I really don't think the answer logically is that the Facebook algorithm via the D-Wave predicted we were going to be thinking about Star Trek. No, it's obvious what's happening. They're looking at that message, okay? And I'm not saying that there's a billion people sitting in a warehouse somewhere over in, North Korea or South Korea working for Facebook, physically looking at all of our messages. They don't need to do that anymore. They've got algorithms that can look at a billion messages all at once. So it goes on to say here, end-to-end encryption is an important tool and a buzz phrase, folks, because I'm sure people, when they hear that Facebook are going to be using end-to-end encryption, this is going to be the be-all and the end-all, right? People are going to be thinking they can go on there and, organize their weed deals and drug deals and all the rest of it, because nobody's looking, because Mark Zuckerberg encrypted it all. Yep, military-level encryption, nobody can get in there, right? And that's what they want you to think. It's one of those terms, Jimmy, where they want you, end-to-end encryption. I'm safe then. Holy grail.
And if you want it, we're going to give it to you guys all for free. All you have to do is stick your eyeball up to your camera and let us take a picture of your eyeball, because with this new encryption, we have to be so secure. We have to make sure that we have some sort of a biometric identification. Believe me, though, we won't share it with anyone. We'll only keep it here at Facebook in the dimly lit room with all the toys on the floor that all the Silicon Valleyites like to. They have these rooms where they have all these different ping pong tables and skateboards, and you can skateboard over to the snack bar and get yourself a softy freeze.
They've got safe spaces. They're social justice warrior friendly workspaces. That's what they are, Jimmy. Snowflake friendly. I'm telling you, make no bones about it. You could let a toddler work in the environment that Facebook sets up for its workers, because it's all cuddly toys and bouncy walls for when you're, playing with your finger paint and doing whatever else they do in their safe spaces on their downtime, going about on their segways and the whole thing. Not that I'm a critic of Facebook or it anchors me or anything like that, folks. I mean, I don't really take much of an opinion when it comes to Facebook, in all honesty. But getting back to this, it says here, right? We'll get back to that buzz phrase that I got stuck on last time, Jimmy. End-to-end encryption, so cool, yeah, is an important tool in developing a privacy-focused social network. Encryption is decentralizing. It limits services like ours from seeing the content flowing through them and makes it much harder for anyone to access your information. This is why encryption is an increasingly important part of our online lives, from banking to healthcare services. It's also why we build end-to-end encryption into WhatsApp after we acquired it. In the last year, I've spoken with dissidents who told me encryption is the reason why they are free or even alive. Governments often make unlawful demands for data, and while we push back and fight these requests in court, because we've got your back, see, I knew Zuckerberg was a good guy. There's always a risk we'll lose a case. And if the information isn't encrypted, we'd either have to turn it over would either have to turn over the data or risk our employees being arrested if we failed to comply. This may seem extreme, but we've had a case where one of our employees was actually jailed for not providing access to someone's private information, even though we couldn't access it since it was encrypted. Now, Jimmy, when did you ever hear about this story? A guy or a woman at Facebook who was sent to jail for not providing access to someone's private information, even though they couldn't access it anyway because it was encrypted. That makes absolutely no sense. No court in the land are going to send somebody to jail for not disclosing something that they couldn't get their hands on in the first place. Because it was encrypted, Jimmy, right?
Yeah, well, maybe she was thrown in Facebook jail.
Yes, man.
You know what I mean? Because seriously, you can actually, on the campus of Facebook, there is a jail. I mean, when security grabs you, they can toss you in this jail and just hold you in there. It's like you're in another country or something.
Holy hell, man. I thought it'd be bad enough a guy like me being thrown in a jail in America. Some big dude getting a hold of me and using me as his plaything. I'd actually rather that than be thrown in and end up Mark Zuckerberg's plaything. Imagine having to sit for like even an hour a day, subjected to the non-personality of NPC Zuckerberg. Dude, that'd be bad, man. I'd actually be absolutely craving an hour in the safe space inside their main HQ.
Well, I'm telling you, seriously, I'm not kidding, because I've been in all these companies, because I've been doing technology installations and system installations for a lot of years. So, I'm always in these companies.
Jimmy's been pimping out the Panopticon, folks. Pimping it out for us, man.
Well, I mean, at least I do know quite a bit about it, though. So if we ever need to,
That's literally what we're talking about here, folks. Now that I think about it, that's the name of today's show. Pimping out the Panopticon. Because that's what basically your man Zuckerberg's talking about doing here. Pimping it out and giving us that feeling that we've got that level of privacy. Remember, he said, so long as you have that feeling of privacy, don't necessarily have to have any privacy, but so long as you feel it, him and his end-to-end encryption, cool, yeah, it's going to really, really look after you. But what they're doing is they're sitting up in that guard room and they're just giving us smoke and mirrors. They're just giving us more reason to forget that they're even there. Don't worry about us. We're not watching you. Kick back, relax in your digital living room. Pull your curtains. Nobody's looking, right? Right? Perfect Panopticon, where you don't even know you're being watched. So it says here,
what about Alexa and your TV?
Don't get me started on that little creepy Alexa, Jimmy. Come on, man. I tell you, my blood pressure is already high at this point. Zuckerberg, you see, this is how I roll. I can go toe-to-toe with Zuckerberg on one night. I can go toe-to-toe with Geordie Rose on most nights. I can take on most of them on any given day. But I'm not a big man. Only 5'6", Jimmy. I can only take on one at a time, dude. Come on. We'll save Bezos and his creepy Alexa for maybe later on in the show. How's that sound? Uh-oh, Alexa got Jimmy.
No, I'm here. I was getting camera ready. Yeah, that sounds great. I cannot wait. Let's do that.
Let's do that then. So then, let's go back to this article. Let's see what's happening here. And it says here, at the same time, there are real safety concerns to address before we can implement end-to-end encryption across all of our messaging services. Oh, like, you mean, say, in case some kind of, I don't know, say, terrorist group really like the sound of having this end-to-end encryption that absolutely nobody can see? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about, Mark? Is that, maybe that the kind of issue? Or the fact that paedophiles or criminals could use your messaging service to exchange content that nobody can see, right? Because you've end-to-end encrypted it. They're safe. You're protecting them. They feel really, really safe, Mark, right? These the issues you've maybe got in mind? Let's see then, because it says here, encryption is a very powerful tool for privacy. So you keep telling us. But that includes the privacy I need to stop. Something really weird happened there. It's okay. It's just Jimmy appearing on camera. That is definitely weird enough. But it says here, encryption is a powerful tool for privacy, but that includes the privacy of people doing bad things. When billions of people use a service to connect, some of them are going to misuse it for truly terrible things like child exploitation, terrorism, and extortion. We have a responsibility to work with law enforcement and to help prevent these wherever we can. Well, see, this is where you have a problem. Because how on earth's name can you give people this 100% cozy, comfy, in your living room, safely private experience that you're wanting all of us to have and believe that nobody can see it because of your end-to-end encryption mark? Yet you want to work with law enforcement so that you can stop things like child exploitation, terrorism, and extortion. And I'm not knocking you for wanting to stop all of those terrible things. I'm not a proponent of any of those. But how can you do both? You can't, folks. There is no privacy. They have got no intention of protecting your data. They need your data. They want more of your data. That's why they want you to believe. Just believe that you're safe, that you're private, that you're alone, that there isn't people sitting up in that digital Panopticon watching your every move, that they're not keeping it all on some digital ledger somewhere, that one day really soon when they go to activate your social credit scoring, no, it's going to be a fresh slate, right? We've not been watching you. Really? I know none of you listening to this buy a second of that, but that's what they're trying to sell people here. It's ridiculous. It truly is. If you just employ a bit of logic when reading this blog post, you can see there's something far wrong. How can you offer one thing in one hand, yet in the other hand say you're going to be watching everything to protect against certain things? Doesn't work. So we come back here and it says we have a responsibility to work with law enforcement wherever we can. We are working to help improve our ability to identify and stop bad actors across our apps by detecting patterns of activity or through other means, even when we can't see the content of the messages. And we'll continue to invest in this work. But we face an inherent trade-off because we will never find all of the potential harm we do today when our security systems can see the messages themselves. Listen to that. But we face an inherent trade-off because we will never find all of the potential harm we do today when our security systems can see the messages themselves. So they're basically telling you, if we do go fully secret and fully private and things, you're basically going to be allowing these crimes to continue. You're going to be supporting them. So it goes on here, finding the right way to protect both privacy and safety is something societies have historically grappled with. Well, never at any time, Mark, in the history of personkind, because I don't want to offend men or women or any of the other 45 genders that your Facebook website says exist nowadays, but never has there been a time when our privacy has ever been called into so much question. Never has there been a time when our online safety has even been a question before. So we're living in entirely new times. To compare this historically to any other period of time, it's foolish, it doesn't work, and it's inaccurate. And again, you're just blowing smoke up people's behinds. But it goes on to say here, there are still many open questions here, and we'll consult with the safety experts, law enforcement, and governments on the best way to implement safety measures. We also need to work together with other platforms to make sure that as an industry, we get this right. The more we can create a common approach, the better. On balance, I believe working towards implementing end-to-end encryption for all private communications is the right thing to do. Messages and calls are some of the most sensitive private communications people have. And in a world of increasing cybersecurity threats and heavy-handed government intervention in many countries, people want us to take the extra step to secure their most private data. Now, that seems right to me, as long as we take the time to build the appropriate safety systems that stop bad actors as much as we possibly can within the limits of an encrypted service. We start working on these safety systems building on the work we've done in WhatsApp, and we'll discuss them with experts through 2019 and beyond before fully implementing end-to-end encryption. Okay, yeah? As we learn more of those experts, we'll finally roll out these systems. Jimmy Jeans. That's that segment finished with. You know, that was the segment that Mark entitles Encryption and Safety. What do you think? You know, you listen to me kind of rambling and ranting on there. What's your thoughts, Jimmy?
Well, I'm just thinking I'm feeling safer already, Kev.
Good man.
I mean, seriously, the thing about it is that there's these judgment structures that are set up that that are based on somebody being on top of it all. So each time there's a level up, there's somebody who makes the ultimate decision in that group. And then it gets escalated up to the next group and so on and so forth. You know, what they do is they take a problem that exists, that needs a solution, and then they polarize it and they charge it politically to make it move one way or the other through public opinion. And by, going through these algorithmic deboosting processes, they've been systematically on Facebook, and we're not even talking about Google, but just Facebook alone, they've been systematically shaping public opinion to a point where, I mean, people are having conversations about civil war and martial law like it's a good thing. And it's not going to be a good thing. And, so I don't know. It's the button's getting pushed every single place we can see on the internet. And the more I see it, the less I even want to be attached to it. I mean, I used to sit on the computer and just sit here and research stuff, nonstop, day in and day out. But lately, I haven't been able to even really, I can't even click on the Drudge Report. Because at this point, how much more do I need to know? I mean, I've gotten enough input to know what's going on. But I continue to, I have to be involved in it, because without it, you're out of contact, because most people just don't even want to have conversations anymore. They want to have a text. They want to send a text. So I don't know, man. I mean, the jury's in, man. Is there any more need for a debate? Listen to what this guy's saying. And it's so 180 degrees out from what's the reality of the situation. How does Facebook make all this money when it's free? That's the thing. That's the bottom line. There is no freebies. If you want to dance, you got to pay the band, right, Kev?
Absolutely. Absolutely, dude. And, I think more and more people now have woken up to the fact that people do appreciate that their data is where the money comes from. That's where the payoff is for Facebook. And that's why, really, when I opened up talking about how the internet, we're now seeing it becoming what it was always meant to be. And it was always meant to be this thing where they could use everything against us, this total system of control, like Jimmy's talking about, the Panopticon, where we don't even realize that what we're putting out there, what we're looking at, we're totally oblivious at times that there is somebody or there is something watching everything. Over here in the UK, it's getting worse and worse, because I was listening to Alex Jones talking about the fact that as of April the 1st, basically, if you want to look at any porn sites in the UK, and whether you're against porn or for porn, it's irrelevant. But get this, they're basically going to make you, Jimmy, have a government ID to sign in. You're going to have to show the government, you're going to have to download something and show them your passport or your driving license to prove that you're 18 years of age or 21 years of age or whatever to get logged into these websites. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it should be a good thing that children are exposed to websites like that. That'd be ridiculous. But what I'm saying is it's a slippery slope to go down when you're having to go through the government to prove who you are, A, to get onto a website, and B, the fact that they're watching every single website that you're going to, Jimmy.
Well, this is one of these things, man. It's, everybody wants to have everything both ways, and you can't have it both ways. The internet is a free place or it isn't. I mean, murder's either wrong or it isn't. You know what I mean? I mean, it doesn't, the issue or the charged issue around why someone got killed is not the issue. The issue is it wrong to murder somebody or kill another human being, regardless of why? It doesn't matter if there's a war between this country and that country. What I'm saying is you can't have it both ways. You can't on the one hand tell some guy who's upset about something that happened it's wrong for him to go shoot somebody down at work, and at the same time have that same guy shipped over to Iraq, taking people out for some purpose that was made up and set out there on a psychological rant all through the media. You know what? I'll tell you what. When Bush was president, there was all kinds of anti-war protests. You didn't see one speck on the TV. You'd think there was 20 people wearing funny costumes who thought we shouldn't be at war. But I tell you what, if Donald Trump goes to war right now or anything like it, you're going to see nothing but wall-to-wall coverage of every human being out in the street that there is, because they want to foment this discord. They're on a path. And it seems like it's just heating up more and more.
It's all right. I mean, it's okay, because by the sounds of it, Zuckerberg's going to televise the whole thing anyway, right? Because he cares about our safety. He doesn't care what we're getting up to on there, right? We could be organizing riots, dude. We could be like plotting the Civil War. Mark's cool. He's got his feet up. He's just worrying about what the difference between hate speech and the rest of it is in his little cubicle.
Nobody, the people that live behind gated communities and stone walls, they don't worry about what's going to happen out in the prison. We've all decided what lifestyle we're going to rent. Okay, in the prison, we're all in the prison and we're all on the plantation. We've just decided where we're going to be, how much money we're going to make, what kind of house we're going to have, what kind of car we're going to drive.
Money? What the hell's that mythical creature you speak of, James?
Yeah, well, see, maybe some of us have decided we don't have any money, and that's the lifestyle that we're going to live.
People say to me, how could we live in a system where there's no money? I tell them to walk in my shoes. I've been living with no money for years, dude.
Dude, seriously,
who knew? I mean, no, who knew? But anyway, Jimmy, before we run out of time, because I've still got more to go on this pesky article, dude. He's been busy at Zuckerberg. He actually maybe put in an hour of work this week for his bajillion dollars that he makes off all our crazy stories we share on there. So then,
now he makes 80 grand for being Zuckerberg. He lives in a house that somebody else owns.
Don't start, Dallas Goldbug. Go back, Dallas. Just listen in for a moment, okay? And for anyone that's been on the internet for a while, that kind of personal joke between me and Jimmy should have you laughing right about now. But anyway, reducing performance. Well, according to your wife, Mark, your performance has been... Oh, right, sorry, we're not talking about that. We're talking about reducing permanence. Okay, I'm sorry, Mark. I'm sorry. We'll get back to the real story now. We increasingly believe it's important to keep information around for shorter periods of time. People want to know that when they share, what they share won't come back to hurt them in the future. It won't come back to hurt them later. And reducing the length of time their information is stored and accessible will help. Our challenge in building social tools is the, quote, permanence problem. As we build up large collections of messages and photos over time, they can become a liability as well as an asset. For example, many people who have been on Facebook for a long time have photos from when they were younger that could be embarrassing. But people also really love keeping a record of their lives. And if all posts on Facebook and Instagram disappeared, people would lose access to a lot of valuable knowledge and experiences others have shared. Now, I believe there's an opportunity to set a new standard for private communication platforms. See how we're getting away from social media, folks, and moving into private communication platforms. Nothing private about them, all about our communications, and just another platform to garnish data. That's what it means. It says where content automatically expires, or is archived over time. Stories already expire after 24 hours unless you archive them, and that gives people the comfort to share more naturally. This philosophy could be extended to all private content. For example, messages could be deleted after a month or a year by default. This would reduce the risk of your messages resurfacing and embarrassing you later. Of course, you'd have the ability to change the time frame or turn off auto-deletion for your threads if you wanted. And we could also provide an option for you to set individual messages to expire after a few seconds or minutes if you wanted. Oh, how cool is that going to be? Jimmy, after you read this message, it is going to self-destruct. And it just blows up on the screen, dude. And it's away. Nobody will ever see it again because we trust Mark. You know, we're in our living room here. We can play about with our digital pyrotechnics like this because, you know, end-to-end encryption, Jimmy.
I know, and you know what you can do is you can scan my eyeball so you learn my
You
my
really
ret-
want your eyeball scanned, don't you? I'm going to buy an eyeball scanner.
saying that's how the AI will know when I'm done reading the messages because I've allowed them to get my
because my eyeball knows it.
That's right.
It's all in the eyeballs, James. You know,
It is.
Dallas used to be about the
window to
ears.
soul.
All in the eyeballs, Jimmy. All in the eyeballs, man. Right, it says here, it also makes sense to limit the amount of time we store messaging metadata. We use this data to run our spam and safety systems, but we don't always need to keep it around for a long time. An important part of the solution is to collect less personal data in the first place, which is the way WhatsApp was built from the outset. Well, isn't WhatsApp the shining example that Mr. Zuckerberg loves to keep going back to, eh? So, next up, unless you've got anything to add here, Jimmy, you know, the God, Mark Zuckerberg, oh, Holy One has spoken. Do you have anything to say to our digital deity?
I do. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I do. There's lots to say to him.
I scanned Zuckerberg empathically. I watched a video of him over in India talking about bringing internet to a bunch of people. And if you go find that video of him over in India making a speech about Facebook, you can watch his body language and not be an empath. And you can see that there's something wrong. Like there's something about what he's saying that makes him scared. There's something about what he's saying that's not true. And you can see it pretty plainly when he's talking.
You know how I know when Mark Zuckerberg's saying something that's untrue, Jimmy? You know how I do it? He's got a tell, man. He's got a right bad tell. His lips move. Honestly, dude. I thought you were going to tell me you thought he was a robotoid. He was acting.
I do think he's a robotoid.
Look at this. Wait a minute. It's like a flaming phoenix coming in from the left field, folks. I got a cup of coffee. Nice. I'm just trying to... arsenic test? No? We seem okay, Jimmy. I think we're okay. I'll test it.
Doesn't he seem... I mean, to me, he seems sort of genetically modified. Like there's something about...
Me or Zuckerberg?
Zuckerberg.
That's okay then, dude.
There's something about the guy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the
joking. I think she's tried to poison me. I'm only joking.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was straight out of Syntheticville. I mean, why did they pick him? When you think about it, I mean, I'm just saying, we know that the CIA put this together ahead of time. They thought no one would buy into it. And you're going to think out all the people on the face of the earth, they chose him to be the guy that developed Facebook, right?
Well, think of it this way as well, right? If you want to say me and Jimmy are talking absolute nonsense, which a lot of the time we do, but that's the way we roll, then go with the story that were sold in the film Network, right? That's the kind of given story as to Mark Zuckerberg and how he shot to power. Well, riddle me this, ladies and gentlemen, in this day and age of the Me Too movement, And rightly, you know, sexual harassment been high on the agenda and this kind of thing. Why is it Mark Zuckerberg doesn't get hauled over the coals? Because in the end of the day, we're told that the reason he set up Facebook was for nothing else other than to perv at young girls in college. You were to share hot girls that you had seen on campus at MIT, I think he was. Was it MIT? Was it Harvard? One of the two. But wherever he was, this is what it was about. You could go on there and you could rate the looks of women. Not me saying that, not Toxic Kev, but Mark Zuckerberg, this guy who is this digital deity that we give all of our data to, and people think he walks on digital clouds. This guy, if you believe the true story, Facebook, the Facebook, as it was originally called, it was for cats to hang out and perv on chicks. So take your pick. Are me and Jimmy telling the truth? Well, probably the fact it was a Pentagon program and then they seen Mark and thought, you're a useful idiot, you'll do to front this up. Or you go with the real story. He was an absolute deviant looking up the skirts of people in university. One of the two.
Hey, well, you know, I'm not saying I'm anything special, but I'll just say this. If you look like that and you were at college, the only way you were going to be looking at any chicks is if you were looking at them on
You were probably right there. Yes, he's socially awkward. But I think, you know, here's what I think happened, Jimmy, right? We've seen what Scott told us about the Pentagon, the LifeLog program. And we know that all these universities, man, they're the recruiting ground for the intelligence agencies. DARPA have basically got offices there chucking money at people to you know, finance their little theories, the little brainchilds, in case something becomes good, right? So they must have been aware of this coder. And I'm not saying he's not a good coder. He must have been, you know, obviously making enough kind of waves that people noticed him. And he drew the attention of the cats that thought, you're the guy. You'll do, Mark. Here, how about you take this program, just call it Facebook. We'll bring you in people like Sean Parker, who have built up big companies before. We'll get you all the seed money you need, son. Crack on. Build it out. Here's what it's for, though. He done it. That's what I think happened. I think that's the way it rolled, Jimmy. He's the front man for their LifeLog, call it what you will. It's a Pentagon tool. It's a military tool.
And little did he know that he was a genetically modified human being who was grown somewhere in a test tube. And then he
just
got
when
bigger
people
and
were
bigger.
taking us seriously, you had to go for the Zuckerberg test tube theory. Come on, dude.
Man, I'm telling you, there's something funny about that guy.
Seen the way he drinks water? Have you seen the way he drinks water, man?
No.
Oh, dude, you need to go and watch the video. I think somebody actually put it together. He was like drinking water at one of these congressional hearings. There's something really not right about this dude. Dare I say it? It's almost as if he's having to wet his lips and the inside of his mouth because perhaps this environment just isn't quite suited to him, Jimmy. Maybe he was worried he would do a bit of shifting on camera, you know?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I mean, you know, when I hear the word organic robotoid, I immediately
Jimmy,
think
I only ever hear that word from you.
Well, I mean, there's a guy, I mean, his name is, yeah, there's a guy from the 80s who said that there was these, the Soviets had developed these organic robotoids and they could have
I love
all
it, man.
memories. Yeah, this guy literally went out and said that Jimmy Carter was an organic robotoid.
Organic robotoid.
But listen, this is the funny part, is that they last a pretty long time, but they have to be in a cold environment. But eventually they do run out. And so what he was putting forward, you know, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago as this concept, you know, in this day and age and the things that we talk about here, I mean, you just played that clip from Geordie Rose talking about making a soul.
Yeah, the soul maker, man. But Ken Illuminati in the chat room just posted a video of Zuckerberg drinking water that I put together. See, people have caught on to this drinking water thing, man. There's something really freakish about this. Right, let me get back to this because we've almost finished this article. Not very often I actually start out on something and we get to the end of it, folks. So let's just get through the end of this here. And I think we were down here. It says, there are privacy and security advantages to interoperability. For example, many people use Messenger on Android to send and receive SMS texts. Those texts can't be end-to-end encrypted because of SMS protocol, and it is not encrypted. With the ability to message across our services, however, you'd be able to send encrypted messages to someone's phone number in WhatsApp from Messenger. Now, this could also improve convenience in many experiences where people use Facebook or Instagram as their social network and WhatsApp as their preferred messaging service. For example, lots of people selling items on Marketplace list their phone number so people can message them about buying it. That's not ideal because you're giving strangers your phone number. With interoperability, you'll be able to use WhatsApp to receive messages sent to your Facebook account without sharing your phone number. And the buyer wouldn't have to worry about whether you prefer to be messaged on one network or the other. You can imagine many simple experiences like this. No, I can't. I've never gone to bed at night worried about whether somebody can contact me on MarketSpace through my Facebook or whether it's going to be unencrypted through my Messenger service. I've never lost sleep about this, Mark. Never. Honestly, it's not that big a problem. Trust me. But it says here, you can imagine many simple experiences like this. A person discovers a business on Instagram and easily transitions to their preferred messaging app for secure payments and customer support. Another person wants to catch up with a friend and can send them a message that goes to their preferred app without having to think about where that person prefers to be reached. Or you simply post a story from your day across both Facebook and Instagram and can get all the replies from your friends in one place. You see, what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen, is this. There's too much data and there's too many different apps out there right now, and they need to streamline it and they need to bring everything in together. And by doing this with all of your messaging services and everything via Facebook, the biggest kind of garnisher of our data online, you're bringing all of that. You're talking about WhatsApp, Messenger, and they mentioned one other, Instagram. You're talking about all of those different data streams now being one stream. All of that going on to one blockchain, for argument's sake, as opposed to 3 different blockchains. You're going to have an AI monitoring that instead of monitoring 3 different things going on at once. It's that streamlining. It's that making things smaller again. It feels like it's opening up to us, right? Because you don't have to worry about whether Joe or Jill uses Facebook or whether they use WhatsApp, because it's going to send it to the right thing for them, right? You don't need to worry about that anymore. But the main thing is, as long as you feel safe and private to do that, Zuckerberg's laughing, right? Because you're being yourself again. You've got that level, that air of privacy where you can share on any of these networks, and it's all going to that one place. He's got your back. Really? It says here, you can already send and receive SMS texts through Messenger on Android today, and we'd like to extend this further in the future, perhaps including the new telecom RCS standard. However, there are several issues we'll need to work through before this will be possible. First, Apple doesn't allow apps to interoperate with SMS on their devices, so we'd be able to do this on Android. Secondly, we need to make sure that interoperability doesn't compromise the expectation of encryption that people already have using WhatsApp. And finally, it would create safety and spam vulnerabilities in an encrypted system to let people send messages from unknown apps where our safety and security systems couldn't see the patterns of activity. These are significant challenges, and there are many questions here that require further consultation and discussion. But if we can implement this, we can give people more choice to use their preferred service to securely reach the people that they want. Jimmy, were you want to jump in there, man?
I am, because I can tell you, I can sense what's going on here. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to see something's going to roll out. There's going to be a Facebook phone.
You know, Jimmy, this is crazy. While I'm reading that, I'm thinking, your telecoms companies, your phone networks, they're gone. They're a thing of the past. They want you using one thing. They want us all on this one system, Jimmy.
Because there's going to be ubiquitous internet everywhere, so you won't have to have cell to cell tower. You can eliminate the middleman of the cell tower and the cell company having to provide you with bandwidth. Is what they'll do is they'll drop the bandwidth down to the 5G stuff that we've been talking about. But see, you know what happens is, and people don't know this, but you know these companies like when T-Mobile first started out and Virgin Mobile. When they first started out, I mean, because I was in the business, they had no towers. They just made up a company name and they just bought bandwidth.
That's like over here. You know, I used to be with was it TeleWest? Man, way back when we first started. NTL. Yeah, NTL was the company, Jimmy, right? And then Virgin came along, and Virgin had nothing. Virgin used to like run, you know, stores over here where you could buy computer games and music, stuff like that. But they started getting into telecoms. So it was the same gig. They had none of the kind of infrastructure. But now, years later, here I am sitting in Glasgow, Virgin Media broadband, 350 megabits. And arguably, you know, they've probably got the best system. When it comes to wired internet, anyway, I think, you know, nobody really comes close to them, dude. British Telecom, you know, maybe 100 megabits if you're lucky.
This is what happens. See, in the beginning, these companies don't need anything behind the company besides a good marketing program and lots of money to throw these ads at you every 30 seconds, wherever you may be.
And that's what Richard Branson does. I mean, there he is. He's a billionaire going to space with Musk and the rest of them now, you know. He's got the money to throw at it, Jimmy.
The same thing. T-Mobile did the same thing. They didn't have anything. They got people to buy their phones based on this selling to this particular demographic. They went to people who didn't have a bunch of money that couldn't throw down $800 a month for a Verizon bill back when it used to cost a lot of money. So they get a lot of money in the kitty, and then all of a sudden they start buying stuff up. So now T-Mobile, I personally went to the Hawaiian Islands and mapped those islands for T-Mobile so they could put up gear over there. And so, I mean, T-Mobile made a bunch of money with nothing. It's the same thing with these other companies. It's called OEM manufacturing. Most of the things that we buy are only made by one person. There's just a bunch of different names that get put on it, and they OEM it out, and one company makes all of it. So, you know, you may go down and buy this, you know, really nice TV, and you can go buy one that's not a name brand for half as much, and it's exactly the same TV on the inside. There's no difference. So, I mean, you know, they're going to roll out these phones. I already know for a fact that Google's rolling out phones. So there's a Google phone coming out. So, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a Facebook phone, and it ties right into that whole Web 2.0 or Web Now 3.0, right? Because we're at the 30-year mark.
Yep.
So Web 3.0, you'll be able to buy your bandwidth from Facebook.
I think it's this week, actually. CERN have got big celebrations on over there. I think it's 3 days. I think it's this week. Oh, hang on. Well, I need to Google that now because that's going to annoy me. CERN Internet 30 years. Yeah, Web at 30 event at CERN to celebrate 30 years since Tim Berners-Lee's proposal to kickstart a series of celebrations worldwide. CERN will host a 30th anniversary event on the morning of the 12th of March 2019 in partnership with the World Wide Web Consortium, the W3C, and with the World Wide Web Foundation. And I think I might live stream that morning then, since there's something special coming from CERN that day, you know? You mean Al Gore didn't create the internet, Jimmy? Are you telling me that's the case? What's going on, man? I thought it was Man Bear Pig done all this, right?
It probably was, but we just, I mean, you know, because he wasn't in the here and he wasn't in the now. He was
Man
on
Bear
the
Pig, he's a time traveler, dude. He is. He goes through time. He's got TARDIS, man. I've not seen him for ages. Right, riddle me this one. Tell me. When was the last time you seen Man Bear Pig? Is he even still the same Man Bear Pig? Is he even alive, dude?
I don't know. He just sits there getting fatter and fatter.
He looks like Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, he reminds me of Jabba the Hutt, dude.
His carbon footprint just stomping all over the world.
It's like Goliath's foot, man.
It's true. But, hey, seriously, though, I just think, it's important just with a lot of the information that we've come in contact with over the past couple months, psychotronics, the gateway thing. I think it's really important people get unplug a little bit from the internet.
Psychotronics sounds like a really cool new form of dance music for like synthetic robotoids.
There you go.
Done it though? Like psychotronic, get that psychotronic beat. Like the altar to the alien god, man. Maybe that's what it's pumping out. Psychotronic tunes, dude.
Synthetic robotoids from the sanctuary. Coming straight out of the sanctuary, ladies and gentlemen. Organic robotoids for your
live from a crypt underground. Let's hear it for Geordie Rose. No, come on, dudes. Right, come on. A bit more seriousness. We've got 20 minutes to go here. I tell you what, man. I've quite enjoyed this no breaks kind of action. This has been quite kind of cool, Jimmy. So
I know.
Like we're off the reservation, man. We've been unplugged.
Chat room's digging it too. And you can get us over to tfrlive.com/chat, interactive chat. Everybody's in there having a good time.
You see, when I read out an article like this from a friend like Mark Zuckerberg, obviously, I get to express a bit more of my comedy side, maybe, Jimmy. People get to see a bit more what the real Kev's like. And I'm a sarcastic little bad word. I really am. See, you thought I was going to slip up there and swear on air. I don't do things like that, dude. See? Sarcastic little bad word that I am. But we're almost finished this one article. We almost got there. Will you give me 2 minutes to finish it, James? Would you let me do that?
Okay.
Right, see, he was thinking about it there. It's awfully nice of you, dude. Telling you go the extra mile, man. Next level stuff. Here we go. Next steps from the god, Mark Zuckerberg. Over the next year and beyond, I'm surprised he didn't say over the course of the next 7 days after I say the word, but over the next year and beyond, there are a lot more details and trade-offs to work through related to each of these principles. A lot of this work is in the early stages, and we are committed to consulting with experts, advocates, industry partners, and governments, including law enforcement regulators around the world, to get these decisions right. At the same time, working through these principles is only the first step in pimping out the Panopticon. No, building out a privacy-focused social platform. I was right, pimping out the Panopticon. Beyond that, significant thought needs to go into all of the services we build upon of that foundation. We build on top of that foundation, from how people do payments and financial transactions, to the role of businesses and advertising, to how we can offer a platform for other private services. But these initial questions are critical to get right. If we do this well, we can create platforms for private sharing that could be even more important to people than the platforms we've already built to help people share and connect more openly. Doing this means taking positions on some of the most important issues facing the future of the internet. As a society, we have an opportunity to set out where we stand, to decide how we value private communications, and who gets to decide how long and where data should be stored. I believe we should be working towards a world where people can speak privately and live freely, knowing that the information will only be seen by those they want to see it, and won't all stick around forever. If we can help move the world in this direction, I will be proud of the difference that we have made. And so saith the god of the digital realm, Mark Zuckerberg. The Book of Zook, as I like to call it now. So that little entry from the Book of Zook, shall we call it? That closing paragraph, folks, there's a lot in there, but it encapsulates the theme that I have seen throughout this entire post. And that is that Facebook is no longer just the Facebook that we once knew. that place where we shared things and came into contact with people. If you listen to how that was read out there, and I urge you all to check out this blog post. It's in various publications. You get a link to the actual Facebook post. Mark isn't talking about how Facebook operates on the internet. Mark's talking about making changes about how the internet works for all of us. His Facebook, his website has become that big now that it is driving the way that the internet is changing. He talks about making, all these things to do with financial transactions, the role of businesses in advertising, payments, private spaces. I mean, is there any aspect of our digital life that Facebook, on what we're hearing here, are not planning to get involved in? And I think there's a lot to be said for that kind of off-the-cuff kind of speculation that myself and Jimmy reached both at the same time, that it almost feels as if we're moving into a time now where mobile phone companies and networks are no longer needed. This one communication system that fits all. But don't worry about it because it's all end-to-end encrypted and it's all for our benefit, right? Or is it corralling us all into one place like we've been saying all along? It was Drudge who went to Alex Jones Studios a couple of years ago and said that we're all basically being corralled into internet ghettos. And that stuck with me, and it stuck with many people out there. And it's almost the more we move into the future, the more prophetic a statement that is becoming. Because we can see here that even means of communicating online now are getting filtered and diluted down into this one place where it can be monitored by one algorithm. So we've got Facebook as one of these companies that's basically running the internet now. We've got Google as well. And another one that Jimmy mentioned, and we probably don't have enough time to get into tonight, but equally as important would be Amazon and Alexa and Jeff Bezos. So, Jimmy, when it comes to Facebook, we're now seeing that this is no longer just a social media platform for sharing cat videos and contacting your mum after the show for a game of Scrabble, stuff like that. No. In fact, Facebook is going to be responsible for a lot of your internet experience. From paying people to connecting to people to running your business to getting ads. Woof! One-stop shop, Jimmy.
Yeah, this is that same thing we've been talking about for years where if you belong to Facebook, you get the internet through Facebook. But if you want to go to InfoWars, you got to subscribe to a whole nother service, whether that's a paid service or some free service that you're getting from somebody else. But instead of us having free-flowing websites of our own on the internet where we're not subject. Look, you don't want to be subject to copyright? Go over someplace and get 24-hour live streaming. You can buy it per month, and you can run whatever you want on it. No one can tell you what you can't run on it. The difference is that we used to be able to go to places like Facebook and these places and put our stuff up and people would actually see it. But what they want us to do is consolidate our life to a point where we're doing business over Facebook, we're doing this, we're doing that. But they just got done saying in that Veritas report that they can cut you off anytime they want and your business goes to you don't make anything or cut you off from your friends.
You get deboosted, man. You get deboosted. And you know nothing about it really because you're still posting away happily, Jimmy. You're just not aware of the fact that nobody is seeing any of your stuff. And you brought up a perfect example, somebody from our very own network here, Christopher Everard. I have to physically, like you say, go and check for his posts. His group's got something like over 40,000 people in it, probably 50,000 now. But yet, anytime he posts something in that group, it's not showing up on anyone's feed. And this is how they do it. And I've told you the kind of trick that they do on YouTube as well. You never know when you've been banned from posting comments on somebody's videos. Because 9 times out of 10, you'll go to YouTube and you'll be signed in under your own account. You make your comment, you go back under your own account, right? You don't think about it. And when you go back under your own account, oh, there it is. There's your comment. But I've told you, try this. And it's only going to happen if you're banned on channels, right enough, if you may be trolling channels, but, sign out. Go through a different IP. Go back to that video. And guess what? Sometimes you'll find that your comment, maybe it's a bit profanity, maybe you've triggered some other word in the algorithm, but it's gone. Maybe the person themselves might just be banning your comments. But you're never aware of it until you actually take those steps to find out. And that's why, when it comes to Facebook in particular, Jimmy, I was speaking to Lucky not long ago, and Truth Frequency Radio, they've got a massive group on there, right? And it used to be if I typed in truth and then the letter F, I'd get the option to tag Truth Frequency Group, right? So over time, that just disappeared. I would type truth F and it would go away. And Lucky said to me, Kev, you should tag the Truth Frequency Group in there because we've got over 10,000 users. And I absolutely would if it let me. So not only does it not let me tag that anymore, but think about this. Even out of those 10,000 people who took the time to search out TFR and click the like button, how many of them would even be informed of the posts we're making? All the hard work that Lucky and others are doing on the social media, is it even reaching people? We don't even know. That's the crazy kind of shadow banning and deboosting and things that we're talking about, folks. And I talk about Ike, I talk about Alex Jones. I somehow find myself talking about Tommy Robinson. And I say that for effect because when it comes to free speech, we should all be entitled to that, right? But TFR, never forget the important part that TFR plays in all of this information warfare that we are in. And for every bit of censorship that places like InfoWars get thrown at them and they have to deal with, mark my words, the time's coming when TFR is going to be exactly the same because we keep growing. And when you keep growing, then that's when you become a problem because you're sowing ideas in the minds of the many. That's why David Icke finds himself in trouble down under, banned in a land down under, old Icke. Why? Because he's sowing seeds as well. The ideas, the thoughts that really are the things that governments and people like Zuckerberg, that's what they worry about. The fact that people might look at our posts that might actually think, eureka moment. That's why we're in information warfare. And that's why I don't trust one word that Mark Zuckerberg has been saying in his new post, Jimmy. Our privacy? No. Do I think he wants us to feel more secure, to feel more safe, so we'll be ourselves? Absolutely. Because they need us to be ourselves, so they'll know more about us, dude.
I know. And, there is no place where we can be ourselves except right here on the Truth Frequency Radio. And,
I don't know. I do a good job of it. I've got Chewy in the background. I've got my chicken foot on. You can't see my chicken foot, but the chicken foot's there, and it's a blue chicken foot.
Well, here's the thing. Most people want to be over on these certain places because they think they're going to get, I got to have a Facebook if I want to be in business, or, I got to have a YouTube and this and that and the other. They've literally gotten to a point now where they're advertising this thing on YouTube where you can make cute commercials like with babies dancing or whatever it is, kitty cats moving back and forth, whatever it is that people like. You don't even have to have the talent to edit things together anymore. All these people are trying to get their information over there on YouTube. But the bottom line is they do it because they think there's an audience there. They do it on Facebook because they think there's an audience there. But your audience depends on what your social standing is, what your score is, where you stand with political ideas, where you stand with exposing information. And so if you're exposing information, YouTube's giant. Yeah, there's a great audience. Are they going to give you a piece of their audience? Will they allow us to have a piece of the audience that we all built with our sweat on our brow?
7 years of toil I've put in there, Jimmy. 7 years, man. That's not to count the years, the two other channels I had before that, man. I'm like an OG of YouTube, dude. It's cool.
Well, if we all got something for the hours and hours we've all spent on YouTube, some kind of something, maybe stock or something, then at least we'd all be, getting something. But the only way to get something is to bow down to the man and not say what you feel.
$5, me love you long time, Jimmy. That's how you get something in this world. Me love you long time, Jimmy.
That's right.
$5, man. Me love you. That's sweet loving. Oh, folks, we're almost out of time. It's been a blast, this. It's been different. No breaks, unplugged, uncut, untamed. Yeah, myself and Jimmy G here. Really good fun tonight. We've been breaking down an article that we finally got to the end of. And it's Mark Zuckerberg, and he's talking all about the fact he wants to keep you all feeling nice and warm and cozy. So you feel nice and private in your digital living room. So you can move away from that digital town square that he's built and pimped out in Facebook land. And now you can take it to your digital boudoirs and feel all nice and comfy because Mark's going to look after you. He's got his end-to-end encryption, his new buzz phrase. And we're not to worry about the fact that all of this is just an attempt to make us let our guard come down, to make us feel more safe, to make us feel more secure. So we'll give away just that little bit more about ourselves. Because if we're moving on to this new kind of social private platform where it's just us small groups and very intimate and very cozy and warm and quiet and cuddly, no prying eyes, things like that. Maybe, just maybe, we'll give a bit more about ourselves away. And if we give a little bit more about ourselves away online, what do? Well, we play right into the hands of the AI that's trying to better and better understand every single part of our lives. What makes us tick, what makes us do one thing over another. And that's exactly what Mark's doing. He's pimping out the digital Panopticon. And all of us are sitting watching it happening. But I have to ask you then, do you keep this information to yourself? Or do you knock on the cell next to you and say, oh, you, look what's happening here. This is what's going on. And it's only by doing that, by sharing information physically away from his digital hellhole that we'll be able to make a change. Not Zuckerberg. Not anyone else out there that we can lie back and wait for in our hammocks. It's okay, the good guys are going to save the day. Nope. You're going to save the day. I'm going to save the day. People around us are going to save the day. And it's only through talking old school, not on that socially private platform that Mark's got pimped out for all of us folks. And we need to make the most of our time on platforms like this where we can speak openly and freely, and where we can point out these invisible digital bars that are all around us, and what we're definitely calling the Panopticon. Zuckerberg's Panopticon. The mind boggles. I'm telling you, it's one of my biggest fears in life to do time of any kind. And in the kind of Panopticon that Zuckerberg is pimping out, little did I know I'm serving time every day in this digital prison that we're all in. So, with that said, and with Jimmy Jeans looking absolutely cool as a cucumber, ready to go on an expedition by the looks of it, I think we're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, good night, God bless, wherever you are, make it TFR, and Dinny, touch that dial.